friends, it's Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. For today's video, I'm going to be closing out my April budget. So there's a few steps that I need to take in order to close out my budget, see how I did overall for the month. And it starts with everything I spent in the last week of April. And therefore it starts here with my expense tracker. I'm gonna write down everything we spent this past week. We're gonna categorize it. I'm going to use some highlighters to color code everything to make it really easy to take this information from my expense tracker and plug it into my budget so that I can see how I did overall for April. So for my budget, the last week of April, for what we are tracking for here, is April 23rd through the 29th. There are technically 30 days in April. However, the very last day of April is a Tuesday. That is the day that my husband and I get paid, and therefore I decided that April 30th is actually going to be the very first day of our May budget. Since that's when the income is coming in, I'm going to be using that income to support us for the first week in May. So that's how I've decided to do it. We're just going to look at all of the transactions from April 23rd through the 29th so we can account for everything. And let's zoom in and get started. So there were not a lot of expenses that happened this week, more than there probably should have been in some of these categories, given that we were at the end of the month and therefore sort of at the end of our budget. But nonetheless, we need to account for them, even if there's overspending. So we're going to start with some of the transactions I made on the 23rd. And actually, there's just one transaction on the 23rd. It was our groceries for the week. I have a monthly grocery budget, but I tend to shop once a week in order to keep our pantry and fridge all stocked up. So I did a Walmart delivery order. The category here is groceries, and the amount that I spent is $253.15. Now, on my expense tracking worksheet here, there is a place for deposit and ending balance so that you can use this expense tracker like a check register if you want to keep track of everything that you take out of your account and everything you deposit into your account. However, I tend to use my expense tracker just to see the spending that happened during this week. So I just use these couple of columns here, and then I always go in at the end, highlight everything, and get totals. Personal finance is personal. These budget worksheets can be used any way you want. If you are interested in getting your hands on my worksheets and you have never seen one of my videos before, you can purchase them on Etsy at the link down below in my description box, or you can join my channel membership at any of the tiers that have Buddy in the title. So there's Budget Buddy and Budget Bestie. If you click on the join button in my description box below, it'll pop up a little window where you can click through all of the membership tiers and see what the membership perks are and decide from there. In order to get this specific one, the expense tracker, you need to be a Budget Bestie. So join my membership, get your hands on these printable budget worksheets if you're interested. This is the design for April. As you know, we're closing April out now. We'll be moving into May next. So my May budget worksheets are available as well. Okay, going back to the spending on the 24th, my husband went to Subway while at work between jobs. The amount that he spent was $12.22, and the category for that is eating out. I have all of my variable spending broken down into categories like groceries, eating out, spending, and that's what I list here in this category section. It just helps me compartmentalize and figure out what I spent for each category. On the 24th, we had some auto pay bills come out. One of them was Crunchyroll. That is a subscription service for anime, I believe. My oldest son is a big anime fan, and so we have that for him. The category here is auto pay. I have a line item in my budget for all of the little bills that we have on auto pay, like subscription services, memberships, that sort of thing. And I just kind of add them up each week to keep track of how much we're spending in that category so that at the end of the month, I can figure out how much we spent overall. So that was one of the auto pay items, and it was $9.99. On the 25th, I had my FabFitFun box ship, and I had added a few things as add-ons. So the FabFitFun membership itself is something that I pay for annually, so that has already been paid. I don't need to account for that here in my budget, but the add-ons do come out as a separate transaction, so that is considered spending in my budget. And the amount that I spent was $34.97. Also on the 25th, I bought tickets to go to a fan expo in Chicago in August. My cousin was going. She wanted somebody to go with her. I decided to go ahead and buy tickets, and now like a whole bunch of my family is going, which I'm actually really looking forward to. This was not something that I anticipated or planned for. Typically something like this would come out of a sinking fund, but it was kind of a spur of the moment decision, and so I took it out of our spending category, which again, it's the end of the month and we were sort of at the end of our spending budget, so I'm not sure what this is going to do for my total overall. May end up putting me over budget in the spending category. I'll find that out when I plug all this information into my hybrid budget, but for now, I spent it, I gotta account for it, and it goes here. And the ticket was $60.19. There will be other spending that happens in regard to that trip, but that I have some advance notice for. I can start planning for that and putting the money away into a sinking fund so that it won't have to come out of my spending budget in the future. Okay. On the 26th, my husband went to the pharmacy and filled a prescription for me. And so that's coming out of spending. We do have a sinking fund for medical expenses. However, my sinking funds are kind of all over the place. I haven't really set them up. I'm very, very disorganized lately with my budget. I need to sit down and do what I have to do to kind of sort all of that out. For now, I just took it out of spending. It was only $19.07. Had it been more than that, I probably would have sat down and done the organization of my sinking funds and paid it through that, but with only $19, I just went ahead and took it out of my spending. All right, and then we had multiple no spend days in a row, which was nice. And then on the 29th, we had just a few more auto pay things. So I had a YouTube membership come out. I am constantly telling you guys that you can join my channel membership. I also am a member of some of my favorite YouTubers' memberships. This one is, I believe, Snow Gardener 307, her membership. I could be wrong about that. I'm a member of a few of my favorite creators, but anyway, it came out. It's an auto pay. It's $14.99. On the 29th, we also had our Netflix subscription come out, which is also one of those auto pay items. So that is the category there, and the amount for that is $15.49. And last but not least, we had my husband's Onyx Maps subscription come out. He uses that mostly during hunting season. I keep forgetting to tell him to go ahead and cancel this for like the off-season times, because he's not going to use this again until hunting season starts up in the fall. But I keep forgetting to have him cancel it. So we paid for it for another month, and that's $15.89. So that's it. That was all of the spending that happened in our main budget this week. So now we need to add things up and get some totals. So let me open up my calculator here on my phone, and we're gonna start with the very top with grocery. So I'm just gonna write that here, grocery, and I actually don't need my calculator because we only had the one transaction at $253.15. Eating out, we also only had one transaction, so that makes this pretty easy. It was, oh, you know what? I'm lying. I skipped something. We went to Taco Bell. Yep, I definitely missed that. Oops. So this will be out of order. Always seems like I have something out of order, but I'm glad I caught it before I got too far ahead of myself. We went to Taco Bell on the 26th. That came out of our eating out budget. The amount we spent, it was my husband and I, and it was $24. Luckily I caught that before I did all the math. I didn't want to have to erase too many things here. So for Subway, we had $12.22, and for Taco Bell, we had $24, for a total of $36.22 in eating out this week. Next up, we'll do auto pay. So we'll get a total for that, which was, I'm just realizing that I did not highlight anything here. That would make this a lot easier. Let me just do that really quick. I've got some new highlighters that I want to try out from Erin Condren. I featured these in a Erin Condren haul that I posted on my channel recently, if you're interested in that. So I'm just going to do grocery in this yellow color. This is such a pretty color. These match my new planner, which starts up in June or July. I'm really, really excited about using that planner. You guys will see Plan With Me videos here on my channel, hopefully. I'm really excited to get back into that. For eating out, we're going to use this color here, which is terracotta. Such a beautiful shade. So that's Subway and Taco Bell. Eating out. Even though these are darker colors, they work beautifully to highlight. They're not too dark. Next, we'll do the auto pay, and we'll use this color here, which is Petal Pink, and we spent $9.99 at Crunchyroll and $14.99 for the YouTube membership, $15.49 for Netflix, and $15.89 for Onyx Maps, for a total of $56.36. So that is auto pay. And then, wait, is that right? Yeah, I just didn't highlight it. $15.89 for Onyx Maps. And then last but not least, we'll do spending. And for spending, I'm going to use this beautiful green, which is moss. And so we've got $34.97 plus $60.19 plus $19.07 for a total of $114.23. So I will just go ahead and get that spending total in. And then we will get a grand total for our overall variable spending this week. For $59.96. So not terrible. Could have been better, but it also could have been worse. I'm going to go ahead and pull this expense tracker out now so that I have it to use as a reference. And I'm going to flip us back to my hybrid budget where I can plug all of this information in here under week 4 and close out our budget. You can see I didn't use the sinking funds section. Like I said, I haven't organized my sinking funds yet. I didn't fill anything in debt payments, but we did make some debt payments. I don't share my debt payments here on my channel with the exception of with my channel members. So if you're interested in how much we paid in debt and how much our debt is overall, our credit card debt, you can join my channel membership at the buddy tier or higher. Those are the tiers that give you access to my members only videos. So you can do that. We're not going to use week 5 this month because we only have 4 weeks in the month. So this is going to be kind of the last section we fill up here to keep track of everything. So I'm going to fold it like this. We'll flip back to the monthly section after a while. So we're going to put in my variable categories, grocery, eating out. Let me just see what order I put these in. Oh, auto pay goes first. Good thing I'm writing an erasable pen. Erase, 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 erase. I just like to keep things consistent so I don't confuse myself by looking at the wrong category. So it goes auto pay, then grocery, then eating out, and then spending. Is that right? Yes. Okay. All right, so this is really easy. We're just gonna go into my expense tracker here and we're gonna take the amount that I spent in each category and put it here. So for auto pay, we spent $56.36 this week. For grocery, we spent $253.15. For eating out, we spent $36.22. And for spending, we spent $114.23. So I got all the information I need off of here. I can set this off to the side. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up so I can look at last week. I'm actually going to pull this out too. One of the reasons why I love punching my worksheets and putting them into this binding system, this disc bound system, is that I can very easily pull out the worksheet in order to make it super easy to see what I'm doing here. All right, so for auto pay, if we look here at my overall monthly budget, my auto pay budget for the month was $300. At the end of last week, I had $111.44 remaining. So that's what I'm going to start with in my calculator here. $111.44. This week we spent $56.36. So we still have $55.08 remaining, and that's the end of the month. So we're not going to need this $55.08 for auto pay. There's no more auto pay transactions coming out this month. However, I may end up needing this remaining balance to cover one of these other categories. So I'm really excited that we came in under budget for auto pay. When I set up my budget for April, I said that I was going to budget high. I always tend to budget any categories that I can a little bit higher than what I expect will pay. That way we have a built-in buffer in our account. So excited about that. For grocery, we started out the month. Let me zoom out just a touch so I can get all of this in one frame and I don't have to keep moving around. Hopefully it's not zoomed out too far. You can still see everything really well. So my grocery budget for the month is $1,000. At the end of last week, I had $140.16 remaining. So $140.16. We spent $253.15. And I knew that we were going to end up over budget in groceries. I kind of said that at the end of last week, like $140.16 was not enough. In April, I really tried to lower our grocery budget, and it was an epic fail. I'm going to be raising it back up again for May. I'm just hopeful that some of the other categories that we underspent in will help offset the overspending we did in groceries for the month. We also do have a buffer in our budget overall. So hopefully, even though we're over budget in grocery by $112.19, I'm hoping we'll still come in under budget overall. I'm gonna write this in red just so that it's glaringly obvious that we went over budget in grocery. All right, for eating out, I gave us a budget of $300 overall for the month. At the end of last week, we had $74.67 remaining in our eating out budget. This week we spent $36.22. So we are under budget in this category, which is great news. $38.45, there's no more eating out happening in the month. So hopefully that in combination with the auto pay amount will offset our overspending in groceries. And last but not least, we have spending. Our overall budget for spending for April was $600. At the end of last week, we had $202.03 remaining. And the amount that we spent was $114.23, which is great. It means we are under budget here as well. Whew, that is a relief. So we are going to offset that overspending in groceries with our underspending in these other categories. Let's see by how much, and then we can go ahead and finish filling in my monthly budget and get a grand total overall. So in terms of what we spent this week, we already know it's here on my expense tracker. $459.96 is what we spent in variable spending. Let's see what we have remaining. So $55.08, we're going to subtract that negative amount, $112.99 plus $38.45 plus $87.80. That means we have $68.34 remaining, which is awesome. So now we can start filling in this monthly section here to get a tally overall. So we'll do some backwards math to kind of figure this out. So for auto pay, we started out with $300. We ended the month with $55.08 remaining, which means that overall for the month we spent $244.92. Under budget there. Awesome. Really quickly, just looking back at our bills, you can see we were under budget in lot rent, we were under budget in storage, we were under budget in DTE, right on the money with Michigan Gas, under budget for car insurance, right on for the golf cart and the camper, as well as the sleep number. We did pay extra to the sleep number. This was just the minimum payment. The sleep number credit card is the card we're currently working on. So we paid money over and above this $300. However, again, I'm only sharing that with my channel members. So join my membership if you're interested in those exact numbers. But we did pay what we expected to pay in terms of this budget. And auto pay, we came in under budget. Groceries, we already know we came in over budget by that $112.99. So I'm going to add that to the $1,000 that we budgeted. Means we spent $1,112.99, which actually is not too bad. It's more than we budgeted, but I did lower my budget quite a bit for April. So even though we spent more than I budgeted, we spent less than we usually do in a month. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that. That feels great. I should have written this in red. It doesn't matter. It's fine. For eating out, we started with a budget of $300. We had the $38.45 remaining at the end of the month, which means we spent $261.55, which is also really good for us. That's very impressive. I know some of you are probably gasping at that number, like that's a lot of eating out, but for us, that's actually quite low. For spending, we had $600. We had $87 $580 of that remaining, which means we spent $512.20. I'm loving seeing so many of these categories under budget. For sinking funds, we did set aside $1,000. I still need to organize my sinking funds and figure out where those funds are going to go in terms of categories, but I did take that money out of our account and set it aside, so that is accounted for. And I left a $300 buffer to cover anything. It doesn't look like we're going to need that, so that's great. Now all I have to do is add up the actual column here, and we'll see how much we spent overall for the month, but it does look like we're going to be under budget, which is great. $712.57 plus $92.70 plus $212.11 plus $55 plus $504.81 plus $150 plus $200 plus $300 plus $244.92 plus $1,112.99 plus $261.55 plus $512.20 plus $1,000. That means we spent this month $5,358.85 for this budget, which is significantly under budget. We had a total of $58.30 to work with for this budget. We only spent $5,358.85, which means we are under budget by $471.15. Now, all of that being said, that's fantastic. We did a great job. You're not seeing absolutely everything here. There are some things that I keep private. Just, you know, I can't share everything on the internet, right? So there's some things that we did put money out for in terms of our overall budget that you don't see here. It's accounted for. It's just not here in this video. We did, like I said, take some money out of our account to put towards sinking funds. Some of that money has been spent on some sinking fund things, but I'm very, very disorganized with my sinking funds. I need to set aside some time this weekend to really sit down, figure out what we have, and calculate what sinking fund categories we want to have and how much of those funds are going to go into each account. So it looks really, really good on paper in terms of like being under budget. I'm celebrating that. That's fantastic. This doesn't tell the whole story. I will say overall, in terms of like our extra debt payments that we've made, the money we've set aside for sinking funds, the stuff that we don't share here on the internet, we're still really good overall. We came in under budget overall, including all of the items that I keep private, which is fantastic. I feel like it was a little bit of a fail. It would have been really, really nice to actually come in under that $1,000 budget for grocery. But what April taught me is that that is just not a reasonable amount of money for me to budget for my family. Maybe you can spend that much for your family, for where you live. For us, I think we're gonna shift our priorities a little bit, raise our grocery budget back up, and try to lower maybe some other things so that we have more money to work with. But we did come out at the end of the month with a surplus. Good news, under budget. That's a win. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye. I'll see you for my May budget soon.